removed from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo during a concert on Tuesday evening. We'll discuss this and more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also talk with President of Greater Houston LULAC, Dr. Sergio Lira. He'll join us to talk about their decision to cancel the Cinco de Mayo parade.
Plus, the Vice President of Venues and Live Events at Houston First Corporation will discuss the upcoming Tour de Houston.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is making his first public statement since his father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed on the first day of the U.S.-Israel war against Iran. The younger Khamenei vows to avenge, quote, martyrs, to continue attacks on U.S. bases in the region, and to keep its blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global route for oil shipments. NPR's Greg Myrie says Iranian state media ran Khamenei's statement.
We didn't see the new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, and we didn't hear his voice. This statement was read on Iranian state media in his name. So one of the key questions is, what condition is he in? He was believed to be injured in the Israeli airstrike on day one of the war that killed the former supreme leader, his father, as well as his mother, his wife, and his son.
NPR's Greg Myrie reporting. Oil prices spiked overnight as gas prices in the U.S. become a political headache for President Trump. NPR's Tamara Keith reports it's an economic indicator people track closely.
Trump campaigned on bringing down gas prices, but since launching the war with Iran, they are way up. Jared Bernstein was on President Biden's Council of Economic Advisors.
I mean, this is a price you see twice a block when you're driving down the street, and every time you fill up your tank, you recognize how much more it costs.
If this conflict drags on, the cost of fuel could drive up other prices too, says Stephen Moore, a conservative economist.
Part of the problem for President Trump is that we already had people complaining about prices.
Affordability was shaping up to be a top issue in this year's midterms, even before the gas price spike. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
An internal government watchdog and members of Congress are separately investigating new allegations Department of Government Efficiency staffers potentially misuse sensitive Social Security data. Here's NPR's Stephen Fowler.
In a letter obtained by NPR, the Social Security Administration's Inspector General told members of Congress last week it received an anonymous complaint about, quote, potential misuse of SSA data. This week, congressional Democrats investigating DOJ's access to Social Security data also said they received new whistleblower information. That information, which was reported by the Washington Post and has not been independently reviewed by NPR, alleges a former DOJ staffer retained copies of 2 Social Security databases and wanted to use them in a private sector job. The Social Security Administration disputes the claims. Stephen Fowler, NPR News.
U.S. stocks are trading lower this hour. The Dow Jones Industrial Average down 526 points, or more than 1%, at 46,890. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Opening statements get underway this morning in the criminal trial of Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George. He's accused of 2 counts of money laundering related to campaign funds. If convicted, George, who just lost his re-election bid this month, would be removed from office. He's also facing a misdemeanor trial in May for allegedly creating a fake Facebook account that was made to look like he was the target of racist attacks. The state of Texas carried out the second execution of the year last night in Huntsville. 51-year-old Cedric Ricks killed his girlfriend and her 8-year-old son in 2013. 3 other inmates are scheduled to be executed this year. Beef prices are up 15% from a year ago, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but cattle ranchers may not see those returns. News 88.7's Michael Atkinson reports.
Years of drought mean cattle feed is more expensive and harder to obtain. That's resulted in the lowest cattle supply in the United States since the 1950s, driving up beef prices. Daniel Driver is a rancher from Winsboro in East Texas.
Because we have finally gotten to such a shortage of cattle in the market that people have been being punished at the grocery stores for beef prices, but the cattlemen have not received that money.
Most farmers who turn a profit aren't getting their earnings from farming alone, according to the USDA. The median income for farmers in 2026 is expected to be a loss of about $1,100. I'm Michael Atkinson, News 88.7.
Hear more from Houston area beef suppliers on News 88.7 In Depth this afternoon on All Things Considered. The famous rodeo bull Bodacious became the first animal inducted into the Rodeo Houston Hall of Fame this week. Here's stock contractor Sammy Andrews, the bull's owner.
Bodacious was an animal that had a unique way of bucking, and he managed to always have the best cowboys. It seemed like he'd draw the best, and he always performed the best.
Champion bull rider Ty Murray was also inducted into the Hall of Fame this week. Murray won multiple championship titles at the rodeo throughout the 90s. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Bayer. Bayer is dedicated to delivering breakthroughs that save lives and feed the world using the scientific process. Learn more at ScienceDelivers.com. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
And hello, Houston.
Hello, Houston.
Celeste has the day off, so you get the Frank and Ernie show today.
Well, and people are already saying she picked a beautiful day to be off. And actually a beautiful long weekend.
Well, okay, let's just jump right into weather. I woke up this morning, I said, anybody who's listening on speaker right now, I'm sorry. I said, Alexa, what's the weather? And,
no.
I heard 50 degrees.
I know, it was chilly. But it was a kind of dog tail wagging, weather that you just, and it's so clear and crisp. Look at that shot. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll see that shot out there. It's gorgeous. It's going to be slowly warming up into the weekend. We'll be in the 80s by Sunday, but it's beautiful out there. And we have another front, it looks like Monday, to cool us back down.
Okay, so I listened to, as I said, I asked my Alexa, what's the weather? And they say 50 up to 80. I'm like, okay, but why wasn't it warmer already if it's getting up there? And how hot is it going to get to what point today? And then when does it go back down?
No, who said 80 today? No.
Alexa did.
No, she's wrong. 70 today.
Oh, Alexa, you've been lying to me.
Yeah, and then mid-70s tomorrow, and then probably 78, 80 on Saturday and 82 on Sunday, then another front. But speaking of heat, there's this huge heat wave coming next week for the western United States. Los Angeles is looking for 100 degrees.
Oh, you're kidding.
Palm Springs, 105.
Ooh.
Phoenix, 104. These are forecasts for next week with this
unseasonably early.
Oh, gosh, that's June.
Yeah.
In March. And it just edges into West Texas, this heat dome. But it doesn't look like it's going to be here. In fact, we'll get that cold front for us on Monday. Another thing I got to tell you. Okay,
You're all over with weather.
I know. Okay, so you know Shelley Arnold, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
She was, for 20 years, headed up Memorial Park.
Right.
And so we're friends, and she said, thank you so much for saving my car yesterday. I was driving and listening to Hello Houston. Thank you, Shelley. And she heard us talking about the storms coming. Mm-hmm. So she went straight home and put her car under cover. Normally it's under a tree, and a huge branch of that tree fell in the storm right where her car would have been. She's going to send me her insurance deductible for saving her car. But good for us. I'm glad Hello Houston came to the rescue.
Hello Houston, saving one Houstonian at a time. You never know what information we have is going to help you in your daily business.
Yeah, but it's going to be a nice weekend, and perfect if you're spring breaking in Texas, and if you're down either to South Padre or here in Houston, Galveston, wherever you are.
And you mentioned into next week a nice cold front. How's that going to look?
Somebody
may be taking next week off, and so they want to know the weather.
Oh, you again. You know what? It'll just cool us down.
It'll cool us down?
Well, it won't be a big cool down.
Okay.
Not like you normally like.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed today, and so thank you for that.
It's beautiful.
I enjoyed yesterday, even though the rain, somehow or other, I talked about this the other day too. I always pick the perfect time to be out in the storm part of the day.
And
so I got caught in the rain leaving the rodeo yesterday. But then by the time I got back in my house at home, it was dried up. So I don't know why I do this.
You know, that front, it was funny because we talked to John Whitmire, the mayor, and I said, there's a tornado watch. And he was like, well, the big flood of last Saturday didn't happen, so I'm not really worried about this. And he was right, as it turned out for us. But there were deadly tornadoes up in Indiana from the same front. So because that cold air and that warm air really slammed, and at least 2 dead, and then a lot of people injured. And you know, it's the 2 people that passed, I saw on the news, they had been in this same home for 80 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they'd been there forever. Yeah. And then in 5 minutes, their world is gone. It's just the way weather does that just still fascinates me.
Well, it's interesting because all too often we make light of weather reports. It's like we have fun with it. We joke, oh, I want it cold, I want snow. And we forget just how important a service weather forecasting is and how important it is to know of impending storms, of things that could come that could be catastrophic. And so in the lightness of it all throughout your career, you've had to find that balance of we can have fun with weather, but you have to realize how serious it is.
Yeah, it's a balance, just like you say. And there were 100 people who, you know, were in the path of the storm that did not die, that were injured. So people did try to take precautions. And it goes back to when the government was cutting all the weather positions. And it was, I was saying, you know, people say, we don't need farmers, we have grocery stores, right? It's like, I don't need weathermen. I have apps on my phone.
Yeah,
and they don't understand that nitty-gritty, down in the dirt weather forecasting is still so vital to our nation because we get more weather than any other country. China is a close second because they have the Himalaya Mountains like we have the Rockies. We have 2 mountain ranges, the Rockies and the Shenandoah Mountain Range, the Appalachians. So we have 2 mountain ranges and 3 bodies of water, Pacific, Gulf, and Atlantic. So that much lift and moisture is what makes our weather so changing, so dynamic, and so quickly different from 1 minute to the next. And most countries, they don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have those different lifting mechanisms. They don't have that many sources. And we're at generally 40 degrees latitude. Yeah. So we are in the perfect spot. How this country was discovered. Well, I mean, when they came to, you know, when they first came to Jamestown, half of them were dead by winter.
Right.
I mean, they couldn't survive because it wasn't a winter like England. It was very different.
I've known you, 30 years, and I still learn new things from you every day.
I'm surprised that this country has survived the weather that we have.
I'm going to say, I'm surprised we've been friends for 30 years.
It's forced us to be inventive people. That's why we have done so much as a country. We've had to.
Well, I want to remind everyone that we've got a full show for you today where you'll learn even more interesting facts and knowledge to help you throughout your day and hopefully throughout your life. Coming up, we're going to be talking with LULAC about their decision to cancel the Cinco de Mayo parade. That'll be coming up in a little bit. But usually I turn to Celeste for this, but I'm turning to Frank. Frank, what's in the headlines?
Well, you probably heard Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo said that she was threatened by security and removed from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo during a concert on Tuesday evening. Hidalgo, an ex officio director of the rodeo, said in a letter Wednesday evening that she attempted to bring another elected official, 2 children, and the parents of a recently deceased U.S. Air Force sergeant to Megan Moroney's concert at NRG Stadium on Tuesday.
Are you going to grab me again? I'm not. I'm asking them what they saw. Are you going to grab? Look at this. Look at this.
This is not being manhandled.
He just said I could go get proof. You're not letting me get proof of the fact that they pushed me.
We are going to call this now. You're going to leave. You're going to leave.
He wants proof that you pushed me.
Well, in a statement to Houston Public Media, a spokesperson for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo said that Hidalgo attempted to access the dirt area of the arena for the sold-out Megan Moroney concert with several guests without valid chute seat tickets. Well, the spokesperson said security advised her and her group that dirt access is limited to chute seat tickets holders only. quote, a premium ticket priced at $425, and the group was directed back to their ticketed seat, unquote. In Hidalgo's letter, she said she'd always been allowed on the dirt because of the county's relationship with the rodeo. She then stated the incident left her feeling disrespected, threatened, physically unsafe, and, quote, unempowered as a woman, and she would not go near the area again. Your thoughts on this accusation by the judge and what happened, what transpired? 713-440-8870. We want to hear from you. Ernie, what do you think?
Okay, a few things to break down in this first to begin. Ex officio director, for people who are not familiar with that term or what it actually means, implies that she is a director of the rodeo because of her position as county judge. She's not elected. She's not in there to serve. It doesn't mean she is a past director.
And they hold the lease.
Right.
So it's like you feel like the landlord, right? I'm the judge of the county, which holds the lease.
It's kind of like an honorary position you get because
I should
of a
get to go anywhere
position.
I want.
The other thing also in this is dirt area, for people who don't know. That means down on the ground. If you've got a rodeo, there's dirt on the ground. But it's like when you see the seats out by the stage, if you're at the rodeo, that's the dirt area down there.
So it's a close-up shot of the star.
And the chute access is the chutes are where all the animals come out of. So all of that said, to point out, it's when you have passes and access through the rodeo, and we get them through media passes, and we'll see often there are very different levels of passes and clearances you get. They're there for security, for number of people, for access. For different reasons, they limit these passes to certain amounts of people. For safety is a big part of it. It's not saying that the county judge did not have access to the rodeo. She actually had access to Harris County's box, as I understand it.
She was in a suite.
And had seat tickets for that. For all of her company were able to be there, the people with her. The going down onto the ground without having pre-arranged that does set up difficulty for security, for the volunteers that are giving access. Unfortunately, not all volunteers know who the county judge is. Not everybody knows who. So they have bands or they have placards that say you can enter this area. As I understand it, she didn't have any of that. And so just showing up and saying, I'm the landlord, let me in.
Yeah.
A true landlord would say, you looked for our credentials and didn't let us access. That's the right thing to do. If you don't have the right ticket, you shouldn't be able to just talk your way into it.
Right. And I suspect security, and let me say, everyone at the rodeo has always, for 30 years I've been going, been so polite and kind. Mm-hmm. They are a nice group of people. I suspect security is told, look, we don't care if it's Jesus' second coming. If he doesn't have the right credentials, he's not getting on the chute.
I've been told that before.
I mean, and that's security. You want security to be security.
Right. Now, I will say in the situation when I'm thinking like, oh, I know that artist. They said, come visit me backstage. And I go backstage and they say, you're not on the list. And I'm irritated by it.
But
when
you
the irritation
understand.
passes, I'm like, I wasn't on the list. I should have arranged this ahead of time.
Right.
And that's usually what happens. You talk to the artist. You say, oh, okay, well, we'd like to come. Can someone put us on the list, acknowledge so that there's not that problem?
Well, and someone, I don't know if it was the rodeo, pointed out that so far this rodeo, she's had $9,000 worth of free tickets.
Right. They have allowed her access previously, which may have then also created the situation where there's the thought and the feeling of
And
access.
someone said on Facebook, does she put that on her tax return, that $9,000 ticket gift? I mean,
I don't know that
she has
one.
not gotten a favorable, and I like the judge. I think she's done a very good job. And I like her from what we've known of her on our show. I mean, she's just a nice lady. She hasn't gotten a favorable review on the Facebook pages that I've seen.
Well, I'm just curious why they're fanning the story into something more, unless, I mean, and she very well legitimately may feel that she was
You feel how you
manhandled.
feel. You feel how you feel.
You know, she may have felt disrespected by the situation. She may have felt she was entitled to certain things. I don't know the whole completeness. We weren't there. But what do you think? 713-440-8870. Call, share your thoughts, your opinions on this. Over on our YouTubers are jumping in. And my British computer guy says, your name's not down, you're not coming in. Plain and simple.
Yep.
You know, the way to also think about if you've been to major events like this, there are so many moving parts. There have to be systems in place to make it work smoothly and safely. And that's why they have these lists. That's why they have certain credentials. Do I get bothered if I don't have full access, I only have press access at something? Yeah, we're all human. We all want a little something more, but I understand it.
I have to read what Alex Garza said on YouTube. This whole thing is a shoot show.
That is very funny. It's an interesting topic and access, but I do think
it may be time to let it go, especially on her part.
Yeah, I don't see that there's a winning argument here.
Well, and you're not bringing up, I mean, as we know, she's been very upfront about her mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think automatically a lot of people are saying, well, does she feel a little put upon and maybe doesn't see things the same way other people see it? Is there something there? And the only reason they say that is because she's been upfront about her own mental health issues. I don't think it's a mental health issue, but I think it was you didn't plan well enough and you got caught up in maybe your own irresponsibility in this case.
Yeah. I also think, too, things compound. So you hear one story in a negative light, another one comes along, and that gets more attention because of the previous story, and it starts to build. And so I'm concerned that I don't know why they're putting so much attention on this. I don't know why we're putting so. I mean, I understand
she put
it's in
the
the
attention
news.
on it.
Right. That's what I mean. I don't know why she's fanning it. Unless
I think she was embarrassed. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know.
When I'm embarrassed, I don't bring it out into the media.
Well, and here's the other thing, Ernie, that's kind of odd.
Okay.
It seems like every skirmish in America has 44 cell phone videos of it.
Right.
This one has nobody's but hers.
Well, but also she's in a restricted area, so there's not as many people there. If this happened out in the main hallway,
well, there were some videos that were in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Because she was escorted all the way to her car.
Right.
And she put 4 videos on Facebook.
Right.
But
everyone else was inside watching the concert.
I guess so. Yeah, it's just funny. We do have a call, by the way.
Let's find out. It's Thomas from Montgomery. Thomas, what do you think?
Well, some of these politicians always think they're the big shots. I mean, I was working press, and I had to conform to the rules. Whenever I went to Giant Stadium or MetLife Stadium, they searched my camera bag, and I had to let them.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I didn't have special privileges. So, I mean, who's this Hidalgo think she is? I mean, she was the elected politician, but that doesn't give her a right to go wherever she pleased.
Well, I think her argument would be no, and I appreciate what you're saying, Thomas. I think her argument would be, I'm the head of the county. The county owns NRG Park. That they are tenants of ours. As Frank said, I'm the landlord. I can go anywhere I want.
Well, maybe. We reached out to Hidalgo's office. We did not get a response back. But I don't want to speak too much for her because I don't really know what she thought. Maybe she just thought, you know what, you know who I am. I've been here 4 nights in a row, and I have some guests.
Also,
and we don't even want to sit. Maybe we just want to go in and get a little close-up shot and a selfie, and we want to go. I don't know what she was thinking.
Well, also, and I don't remember if you mentioned it in the story. It was sold out. All of the seats.
But you've seen the seats on the dirt. There's plenty of room to stand around them. Behind them.
Well, and also we're in a period of heightened security, especially right now because of the war and the conflict we're in, where I'm sure they're more on edge. You're running an organization that's inviting this many people in every single day. They probably, and in the last week, things have gotten more severe. So we've probably tightened.
And our producer saying her office said she was not available for comment. So it's not like she's stiff-arming us. She's just as busy.
Right. But we are in a place where we've got to pay attention to security and keep an eye on these things. And I'm sorry that the...
Well, and we talked about all the stars that we do get here. We get the biggest names. Kelly Clarkson, Lizzo. I mean, they want to be sure that we are as secure as we say.
Right.
And if we have a mishap and there's a security issue of any kind, they may be reluctant to come to the rodeo. Yeah. So you got to play by the rules. That's all. That's all. And especially government officials. But I think we all... in a situation these days where security is involved, it's best to be very polite and say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and yes, sir, and no, sir, and go your way. So.
Other things happening right now, we'll just jump around. You know what? Let's go to my second story.
Well, and speaking of security, this is an interesting story.
Okay. So a new national poll finds Americans divided. That surprises me. On the idea of placing the National Guard at polling places during this November's midterm elections. The NPR PBS News Marist poll shows 46% support the idea, while 54% oppose it. Federal law would not allow the U.S. government to order troops to monitor elections, but state governors can legally deploy the National Guard to assist with election operations in certain circumstances. The number suggests some openness among voters to a stronger federal role in elections, an idea President Trump has recently raised. What are your thoughts? Should the National Guard monitor our elections? 713-440-8870.
Frank votes no.
Ernie votes no on that one.
Okay, we'll get some other votes. We do have a call. I think this is on Hidalgo from Jamie here in Houston. Hi, Jamie. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Jay, are you there? Jamie? Jay?
Oh, Jamie. Must have dropped.
Okay. We'll come back to it.
So the I don't think any National Guard should be monitoring elections. I don't think it's necessary. We never required it. I think it's a strong arm.
I think if there is a serious threat or issue, each one should be handled individually. If you have reliable threats that something nefarious could be happening at a particular polling location, I think that there are organizations in place, operations in place to handle things like that. To send out the National Guard to polling locations is intimidating. It suppresses voters' security. Now, I know some people say, no, then I feel more secure because I know that I can go. I don't think it works.
But now we're
like
going to have to fight the rumors. On Election Day, we're going to have to say, no matter what you've heard, there are no National Guard people here. So come vote.
Right.
Or maybe there will be. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go with that.
Yeah, I'm concerned, and I'm curious what you think. 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You know what that means?
We're going
to take a break. Yeah, let's take a break. We'll wait and hear what you think on these topics coming up on Hello Houston. LULAC will join to talk about their decision, to cancel the Cinco de Mayo parade. We're going to find out what's going on there. This is Hello Houston right here on News 88.7.
Meet Tio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
At a very low price.
I'm Kimberly Adams. How ski resort company Vail is changing the industry. Next time on Marketplace.
You can hear Marketplace at 6:30 this evening here on News 88.7.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, we spend the hour with a true ramen geek, Sho Spaeth, author of an amazing book, Homemade Ramen. I'm telling you, follow him. You have one of the most delicious bowls of noodles you can imagine on your own kitchen counter. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
The Splendid Table, heard Sundays at noon on News 88.7.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're listening right now. Take the next steps and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference, and what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a few minutes to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro fare system replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, presenting the Zope Italian Family Circus, a one-ring show that includes acrobatics, equestrian stunts, clowns, and storytelling. March 6th through 30th. Tickets at visitgalveston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
Last month, the Houston Council for the League of United Latin American Citizens, better known as LULAC, announced it had canceled this year's Cinco de Mayo parade due to growing concerns surrounding U.S. immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, activity. The Houston Council of LULAC hopes to bring the parade back next year, when conditions are safer for all the hopes that participate in the event. To tell us more about the cancellation of the parade and other pressing concerns for the Latin American community here in Houston, we welcome Dr. Sergio Lira, president of the Greater Houston LULAC. Dr. Lira, welcome to Hello Houston.
Welcome, and I'm, President of Greater Houston LULAC 4967. We're a, very strong council here in the city of Houston, but full disclosure, we're not directly involved with the Cinco de Mayo parade. That was LULAC Council 60, but also District 8. And I'd like to share some information regarding the two prominent LULAC councils here in Houston, which is LULAC 60 and Greater Houston LULAC 4967. However, we are very, happy to inform the public that we will be having a different parade called Freedom on May the 2nd, just to ensure that our cultures are celebrated here in the United States, the land of the free, the home of the brave. And so, we were not privy to the decision that District 8, and just to help enlighten and inform the Greater Houston community, is that Houston has several LULAC councils, and then there are districts, and then there's a state director, national office. So we do have one state director who's actually based in San Antonio, but the two prominent in the Houston-Harris County area is District 8 and District 18. District 8 is the folks who have overseen the Cinco de Mayo parade for many years, and I'm not privy as to the decision that they made. We leave that open for them to disclose the reason for it. But the press release clearly stated that they had concerns regarding the ICE raid and the fear in our community, which is very real. It's a fear that is about as thick as molasses. But at the same time, we're a very strong advocacy group for our community. And of all times, history has shown us to be brave, and not be afraid, and fight the resistance of anyone that attacks our community. But I just wanted to share that we're having I just sent you the flyer. We'll be holding a press conference probably next week as to the Freedom Unity Parade that we're going to be implementing or having here in the city of Houston, right around the downtown area. It will be May the 2nd from 10 a.m. to 12. And we want not only the Mexican culture that celebrates Cinco de Mayo, which is the Battle of Puebla, which really symbolizes resistance against strong opposing forces. Well, we want to symbolize not only that we're not afraid, and that we're in the land of freedom, and that we are brave enough, just as those folks were in the Battle of Puebla, but to also be inclusive, to include other cultures from Central America, even Mexican-American cultures that have lived here for centuries, since 1848, that, created the new hybrid of Mexicans and Americans together, which is the Mexican-American culture, which is deeply rooted in the Southwest states, the 10 Southwestern states of the United States. The territory that were lost after the Treaty of Guadalupe, which was 10 states, all the way from Utah, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, you name it, California.
Doctor, let me jump in here and just ask you, because I'm curious, and I understand how you're saying you are not the organization that does the Cinco de Mayo parade, that's a different district number. But since you've also stated that you folks are doing your Freedom Unity Parade, the concerns that District 8 felt towards Cinco de Mayo, I'm assuming there is some conversation between your organizations. Do those same concerns exist for you, for your parade? Are those things you considered and looked at in deciding to continue with your plans, or were you set on your path and that these other things are not of concern to you?
Of course, it's a legitimate concern as we see what's happened in our nation and what's happened in our city. The recent news reports on, HPD working with ICE. And those issues, it has caused a high level of emotion based on on this issue. However, we decided within our district gate is that although it is real, we should not live in fear because, what are we going to do? Cancel the rodeo? Are we going to cancel Gotejano Day? I just came from yesterday Mexico versus Italy game at Dankin Park with over 40,000 Latinos, and most of them of Mexican descent. They were celebrating a wonderful baseball tradition, which is, just wonderful. Actually, I've never seen so much passion and at a baseball game than yesterday, although the outcome was not great. But my Lord, the fear is there, but I don't think we should, go in and hide into our caves. I think we need to come out and celebrate and say that, we're in this country and we are contributing to this country. We're building this country. We're the essential workers of this country. We're, folks say that they built America in the past tense, but I say Latinos are in the present tense of building this country. So therefore, their hard work should be recognized, and they should not be afraid. And let's celebrate our cultural traditions and keep politics out of it.
I really agree with you. We're talking to Dr. Sergio Lira, president of Greater Houston LULAC. Dr. Lira, I do want you to hear this clip. Yesterday, we asked the mayor about his comments on the parade being canceled. I did preface it with mentioning the violence in Minnesota. Please take a listen.
I think it's a combination of what you mentioned. That's the way it's being spun. I think it's also, they don't celebrate that birthday, that ceremony in Mexico.
Right.
So I think their attendance is dropped. The concerns over immigration, a budget issue. So, we're in touch with them. We were surprised, but they just decided to put their energy in a different effort. But I don't think it would be reasonable to say just ICE or immigration.
So, Dr. Lira, low attendance, budget issues, did either one of those factor in, do you think? I know you can't speak wholly for them.
No, I can't speak for them. I think I've heard from other folks, not directly from them, but folks who have participated last year, that the attendance was much lower. And that was the beginning of this administration and ICE and the aggressive efforts that were being displayed across our nation, across the media outlets. So it definitely had a huge impact. The recent ICE raids here in Houston, Home Depot, et cetera, the heavy-handedness of some folks who were detained, parents, all of that contributed to a very emotional level of fear and concern. And I think that contributed to it. And I'm not sure about the budget. I think it's always been very profitable. I think it's a well-run machine. They've been doing it for many years. Very similar to Fiestas Patrias, which is on 16th of September, Mexican Independence Day parade. What is really the Fiestas Patrias. That happened this year, and it was a huge turnout in September. And that was run by the Armando Rodriguez, the late Armando Rodriguez judge family. And they had a huge turnout, and that happened in September. So right in the middle of this. But,
let me ask you this, though. With this Freedom Unity Parade on May 2nd, was that planned to happen regardless of whether or not there was a Cinco de Mayo parade, or was this a reaction to the fact that they had decided not to do the Cinco de Mayo parade?
I think it was a cause and effect reaction, because we really, in the city that's the fourth largest city in the nation, an international city, a city of diverse cultures, the recent Martin Luther King parade, we felt that this should not, that we should come up with something different. Let's do something. Let's celebrate the cultures now more than ever. And I personally do not agree with canceling the parade, but that's my personal opinion. Right. Because as I mentioned before, and I spoke to other folks, is that of all time from a historical timeline, this is when we should really stand up and speak up and not be afraid. We live in a democracy. We don't live in Cuba, Russia, China.
But what do you say to folks who say, if you have this event, you are giving an opportunity for ICE to find a place where they can move in and, I hate to use the term, easy pickings. You're laying it out there for them. Part of the reason the Cinco de Mayo parade, as I understand, isn't happening is you don't want that interference. You don't want the community put at risk. Do you not see it that way? Do you feel like there is security in place that makes it safe to go there and to not fear ICE interaction? Where do you sit as an administrator of this event?
Well, safety has always been my priority, and it will always will be. But at the same time, if you have precaution, and we cannot live in a country of fear. We cannot live in a country as is we're some, we were in Russia or China or Korea, where we don't have a, say so, where you guys won't be able to, to have these types of programs. We must demonstrate that. We do have First Amendment protection, and we're not putting folks at risk. The simple fact that, you go to an event, a rodeo, are they not putting Latinos at risk? Tejano Festival, the Tejano Day Rodeo that has over 80,000 Latinos, are we not putting folks at risk? Or the Astro Game, not putting folks at risk? The Rodeo barbecue cook-off that had thousands of Latinos there, are we not putting those folks at risk? So why is this one so particular, putting folks at risk? The fact that we go to HEB every day, does that not put folks at risk?
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah, I think you have a good point. So, on a happier note, tell us more about what's happening May 2nd. This is called called the Freedom Parade? Is it a parade or just a celebration somewhere?
It's a celebration of all cultures. But let me just point one thing back, Mr. Billingsley, is that, we have to base our fear based on actual data. There's not a single incident of a student being singled out at a school or at an event, picked up and deported in Houston area. Now, we have strong substantial data to manifest and substantiate fear, then I'm with you 100%. But, we're sometimes flaming the fears by being in a very emotional way without any data support. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I have spoken to folks directly from HISD that not a single student has been arrested or deported from a school campus. So the argument that, the students may be at risk, well, they go to school, they go to church. Not a single one has been arrested at church, so much less a public, well-run, with security involved.
So you're making the decision looking at the local landscape of where we're at and what is safe. Yeah.
And the other thing is that this administration, where we see that aggressive, the killings and the aggressive action from, those were states that had a Democrat governor. You're talking about New York, Chicago, Illinois, California. This is a Republican state. This is a Republican governor. So, I think they were targeting those states for political reasons, as we all know what happened in Minnesota in terms of the Somalian fraud cases, and they just went in there. And again, it was all, these we're and I agree with the mayor. This is different. We're doing a great job here. It hasn't reached the heightened level of those Democratic states. So I think if we keep things cool and reasonable, we should continue to do well.
To go back to Frank's question, what will folks find on May 2nd?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thanks, Frank. No, you're going to have a wonderful inauguration of a new parade called Freedom Unity Parade. And this is what America's all about, a kaleidoscope of cultures, traditions, and celebrating the good things that happen in our country, the vibrant, the variety of customs and cultures, and just the beauty of the kaleidoscope of who we are, and more so here in Houston, the most diverse international city in the nation. When you have folks from different cultures coming all together to celebrate, you know what? Let's just flip from the negative, the pessimism, to the positive. Let's focus on unity. Let's focus on solidarity. Let's focus on helping each other to support our neighbors, regardless of your ethnicity, your background. We welcome the white Protestants. Come on down. You name it. We want everyone to enjoy freedom, a parade, culture, celebration, and God willing, we're in the greatest country of the world. Let's do that.
That's a great place to end it. We do have a quick comment from a caller. Sandra from Clear Lake is on the line. Sandra, got a quick comment for us?
I do. I was wondering if perhaps you could reach out to people that do No Kings rallies, invite them to come and bring their signs and support you and protect you.
Absolutely, Sandra. In fact, I was one of the keynote speakers at the No Kings rally in Pasadena. We know the history of Pasadena, and I was not afraid. I stood proud, and I spoke about the goodness and the freedom of our country, and definitely I will reach out to No Kings. I know a lot of folks involved with that organization.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Lira.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. Dr. Sergio Lira is the president of the Greater Houston League of United Latin American Citizens, Chapter 4967. Thank you for joining us here on Hello Houston. Coming up next, Houston's premier biking event. So stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
The U.S. has...
Meet Gamola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Gamola to learn more about his ride.
Made a reference to gender.
I'm Elsa Chang, the ripple effects of aid cuts on All Things Considered from NPR News.
You can hear that beginning at 3 this afternoon here on News 88.7.
Next time on Climate One, food waste is a huge source of methane, an even more potent climate pollutant than carbon dioxide.
Most folks don't realize that when food waste goes in the trash, it's not a neutral thing. It's an actively bad thing. So, keeping food waste at a landfill is paramount.
3 different companies working to address this problem on the next Climate One.
Climate One, Sundays at 6 a.m. on News 88.7.
Humans have loved alcohol since we discovered it, but is that love affair with drinking coming to an end?
We do have to really stop pretending that a nightly glass of wine is some kind of health supplement. There are some very different trade-offs here that we have to make.
Why consumption of alcohol worldwide is starting to wane. That's next time on Think.
That's coming up at 11 o'clock tonight on News 88.7. Support comes from Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's Macomb School of Business, offering the Weekend MBA at Houston. Networking event March 19th at new campus location, City Center. Details at texasmbaevents.com. Make it here.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8 at 7, Magic Moments presents the best of 50s pop. Then at 9:30, Country Classics celebrates the timeless legacy of Willie, Waylon, Dolly, and more. Tonight on TV 8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
Well, Tour de Houston is an annual community bike ride that celebrates the beauty, the history, the diversity of Houston's neighborhoods. Currently in its 19th year, the event will start and finish at Discovery Green and Avenida Plaza in front of the GRB, with this year's route featuring 3 distance options that offer a different experience based on the preference of the rider. The event will take place a month from today on Sunday, April 12th. So to tell us more about this year's Tour to Houston, we're joined by Todd Holloman, Vice President of Venues and Live Events at Houston First Corporation. Todd, I remember the first one. Do you?
I actually do.
Did you ride in it? You look like you're a rider.
So way back when, yes, I have ridden in it in the past.
Yeah, I remember because I was forecasting the weather for it. I was like,
yes, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to get the forecast for April 12th,
yeah,
too.
We want a month
a beautiful
out
day.
now.
We want a day like today, right?
Okay, you got it. You got it. No problem.
And to clarify, this is not a race.
It is not. It is a ride.
So you can go and enjoy it. It's not
Absolutely.
like you've got to be a pro cyclist who's got all of what you need and you're going to fly through this course. This is to enjoy.
It is. And we have routes for all levels. Frank, you said it really well. So we have a 10-mile family ride.
Oh, so that it's slowly.
A 10-mile family ride.
All right.
So really something that everyone can do. Just make sure your bike's in great shape. But this ride goes back west. So the 10-mile family ride, you talked about this earlier, your friend Shelley Arnold at Memorial Park.
Yeah.
So our first rest stop is actually at the South Picnic Loop in Memorial Park. So iconic spot for the city when we think about highlighting, iconic neighborhoods, parks, spaces within the city. This route does just that, but we have a 10-mile family ride, we have a 20-mile intermediate ride, and then a 45-mile training ride. So all of those training for the LMS 150 that's coming up a couple weeks afterwards, you're able to let loose a little bit as well and go 45 miles out and back. And as you mentioned, starting really at iconic Discovery Green, Avenida Plaza, going out west and then coming back, really just a great day.
And all three of those routes come back to the CRB?
They do.
Yeah.
It is a true out and back, so everybody's out on the route itself. Ernie, to your point, it is a ride. It is not a race. Everyone, you have plenty of time to go through. It is a fully supported ride as well.
So there are sag wagons?
There are sag wagons as well. So let's say,
Not that I know anything about that on a bike
I was going to
ride.
say, we have sag wagons as well. Great support from our city partners as well. So you have the Houston Police Department out there making sure everybody's safe. You have the fire department providing first aid services. We have solid waste out there, public works, special events team, sag wagon support. All the rest stops are fully supported. So when you think of music out there, you think of food and beverage, all of those, so you're able to refuel as you get to a rest stop, come back in, pick the distance that you want to go, and then have a great after party at Discovery Green when you're all done.
I'm trying to think sag. It's not swag. It's sag.
No, it's the sag wagon. It's when you're biking and you've decided, you know what, you don't want to be biking anymore.
Oh.
It happens a lot in races. You know, you've been pushing yourself and you just can't finish the race. Well, they come along, they pick you up along the route.
Like slow and go with sag.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes. Most people, but yes, if you need a little extra support, we'll get you back to the
I got you.
finish line as well.
I thought it was maybe refreshments. Do you have those? Like some Gatorade on the way? Or
lots of
water?
refreshments all the way through. Great Pepsi products all the way out there.
I wonder who a sponsor is.
There you
the
go.
Way you gently drop that in there. Very well done.
Well, they're Pepsi's Powerade or Coke. I don't know. One of them.
So at the start line, you're able to get all the supplies that you need. Really get ready for the ride, and then all the rest stops truly are fully supported. So when you think food and beverage out there, more products, more salt and sweet snacks that you may have out there, fruits as well, restrooms, everything through, and then great entertainment.
I'm listening to this, and I'm like, okay, I want to do it.
Yes.
How do I register? How much does it cost me? What do I have to do?
Okay, great. All great questions. tourtohouston.org. That's the website. Go to that. That's where you'll register here. Right now, we're $60, but for listeners today, can we do an on-air promotion?
We really can't, but I can't stop you from what you say.
Oh, well, there you go. We can also drop this maybe in the chat as well. We're going to say for the next 36 hours, all listeners, if you type in the discount code Hello Houston, all one word, that's great, right? I'm looking at it on the screen, Hello Houston, get 50% off as well. That's exciting.
That's
nice.
making it accessible to folks.
Yes. So
we have some
$30,
YouTubers that are saying they want to ride in this.
Absolutely. So go to tourtohouston.org. Easy to sign up. You get a complimentary shirt as well. When you go out, T-shirt as well. You can also purchase a jersey, the official Tour de Houston presented by Apache jersey.
Is there a cap of how many folks?
There's not. So historically, we've had about 3,500 on this event. So
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, you get to hang out with
on
all of your fellow
Houstonians. Day like today, 3,500?
Absolutely.
That's
and like a beautiful weather. This is a great cycling day.
Okay, there's that thing that goes through downtown all the time, and right now the name is escaping me. A bunch of bicyclists come down and they block all the streets as they're going. For those of us that hear this is going to happen and we think, oh my God, everything's going to be blocked off. It's going to be terrible for us that are just driving around.
Not at all.
What do you have in place?
Not at all. So with the support of our police and fire department as well, fully supported ride. But so we tell cyclists, so they're in place at all the key intersections to help move cyclists through, help vehicles move through as well. This is, we tell cyclists, you still have to have the rules of the road with it. So it's not just a mass group going all the way through with everything blocked off. We do use a fully supported ride with having police in place to help get cyclists from point A to point B all the way through the route.
I'm guessing that helmets aren't an issue. I mean, do you enforce
They're required,
that?
absolutely.
Okay, you do enforce that.
Yes, you have to have a helmet to ride.
I would
Safety
think most,
first, right?
I would think most people would do that anyway.
Absolutely, and we also have a bike shop out there if you forgot your helmet in the morning of.
I was going to ask about bike shops too, but I also want to mention one of our YouTubers, Cosme, said critical mass. That's what I was trying to fish for that word a little bit ago. Do you work with, or are there offers out there for folks who need to get their bikes tuned up beforehand? So is there any kind of advance help to make sure? Because you don't want people out on rickety bad bikes that are going to break down and cause you trouble.
Absolutely. So great question there, Ernie. So we're working with various bike partners for that to be determined on that. But yes, we'll have a fully supported bike shop with us as well. So something that you could go to ahead of time, have your bike serviced, make sure that everything is in proper condition. Right. And then also the morning of at the start-finish line, having full bike support there as well. Let's say you break a chain early on, need a helmet, something like that. You're able to pick all of those up before you actually start the ride.
So give me a sense. I mean, I know Houston First does so much, but you're not raising money for like the MS-150. You're not. There's no prizes to be had. So at the end of the day, this is just a fun event to see the city.
So it is, but we do have proceeds that go back to the Replant Houston program.
Okay,
there we go.
Tell us
there we
about
go.
That.
So Replant Houston program in partnership with Apache Corporation, our presenting sponsor for 13 years and a great partner for this event. Proceeds, so far $1.2 million has gone back to replant the forestation within Houston. So it's about 450,000 trees.
Nice.
Within. And then, Frank, you mentioned, for Houston First. So we proudly get to serve as a destination management organization on behalf of the region. So when you think of sales, marketing, tourism for the city, and then I know, Ernie, you've been to like Comic Palooza and different events that we also produce there. You also then take the venues that we proudly manage and operate. So you think of the George R. Brown Convention Center, several theater district properties, Miller Outdoor Theater. This event really marries all of those together. So you're starting at a venue that we manage and operate, very iconic with the George R. Brown Convention Center. And then a lot of customers, when they come into Houston, one of the first things they mention is how green the city is. So then when you think back to the proceeds, so $1.2 million going to planting trees, and through the Houston Parks and Recreation Department, that's a lot of trees, that's a lot of the green canopy. And I think we all say, our city is so green. There's so much that when we think of park space, trails, everything that you get to enjoy every single day within the city. This event really is one of those events that allows you to see the city in a different way that you may do every single day.
Well, it's great because not only are you doing good for yourself, doing something fitness-wise.
It's fitness.
It's great for the city because we get some trees planted and it helps a lot forestation.
Of trees. Yes.
So it seems like a win-win in every direction.
I mean, I think so, and a lot of fun. Yeah. Like you go out, you get to see fellow
mention a little entertainment. What else is happening while it's out there?
So imagine when you come up, DJ playing music, get you pumped up. We'll have some mascots out there doing some stretching ahead of time. We want you get ready for the ride.
Better than a mascot.
Did we say what time it starts? I'm not sure.
We did not. April 12th, 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wait. So I was with you till 8 o'clock in the morning.
At 8 o'clock, you sleep in a little bit. You come out.
Ernie's just getting home.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
So
dude, you have a late bird start time. Can I start around noon?
As long as you're out by 9 o'clock, you're coming back. That's easy to do. You can do it yourself. Yes.
So what time do people actually start arriving? 6:37?
Around 6:37. Come on site. You can register, obviously, starting today, previously, all the way through the event, the morning of as well. Again, $60, but for the Hello Houston right now, for 24 hours, it'll go all the way through.
Wait, you said 36 hours time.
36, sorry. So end of day. We'll do end of day tomorrow. End of day tomorrow, 36 hours.
We are not endorsing this at all, just for legality purposes.
But people are putting it on our YouTube page.
That's people.
We can't stop that.
We can't stop that.
I guess the code would be Hello Houston for 50% off at the Tour de Houston website.
There you go.
But I didn't say that.
No one said it.
There you go. Thank you for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Todd Holloman's Vice President of Venues and Live Events at Houston First Corporation. This year's Tour de Force, again, Sunday, April 12th at the Ernie Hour of 8 a.m. Coming up, we're going to talk more about today's top headlines. We also want to discuss politicians wanting to stop companies from buying homes. en masse. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
It's too big an error. It's too big a tragedy. And no matter what is to come in this war in Iran, the killing of the school children, the mistaken targeting of a school by the U.S. military is going to color how we look at it.
I'm Michael Barbaro. That's today on The Daily from the New York Times.
The Daily, 7 p.m. tonight on News 88.7. Support comes from Specs Wines, Spirits, and Finer Foods, celebrating the Lone Star State with locally and Texas-made spirits, wines, brews, and more throughout the month of March. Details at specs.com. The fun starts here. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, a new poll shows Austin State Rep James Talarico, the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate, in a dead heat with both remaining Republican candidates in the race. We'll discuss this and more. Today's top headlines. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also talk with urban affairs reporter for the Texas Tribune, Joshua Fechter, on his report on the rising cost of housing and the debate over whether investment companies should be allowed to buy single-family homes.
Plus, we'll have our regular Thursday feature, Current Obsessions. This is a rundown of things that are currently taking over all our free time.
And we want to hear yours, so give us a call. What are your current obsessions? 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Remember, you can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. The Iranian people are now hearing, although apparently not directly, from Iran's new supreme leader. Iranian state media has aired a statement from Mujtaba Khomeini, son of the assassinated Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. NPR's Jackie Northam has more.
Khamenei urged the Gulf states and other countries in the region to close their U.S. military bases. Otherwise, Iran will continue to attack those countries. And he warned the Gulf states that they couldn't trust the U.S. when it promises peace and security. He said they lie. In countries like United Arab Emirates and Bahrain and Oman, they've all been struck almost daily by Iranian drones and missiles. And he said that will continue.
NPR's Jackie Northam reporting there were reports that the younger Khomeini was injured in strikes by Israel and the U.S. that began 13 days ago. The United Nations Refugee Agency says that more than 3 million people have been displaced inside Iran since the war with the U.S. and Israel began. In neighboring Lebanon, officials say more than 800,000 people have been forced from their homes. Here's NPR's Carrie Kahn.
According to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, between 600,000 and up to 1 million households are displaced inside Iran. That means up to 3.2 million people are displaced. And in a statement, officials say this is just a preliminary assessment, which will likely rise as hostilities persist and, quote, marking a worrying escalation of humanitarian needs. In Lebanon, where Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants and Israel are exchanging missile and drone attacks, hundreds of thousands are seeking refuge in more than 400 shelter sites, but the numbers fleeing far outstrip adequate housing, with large numbers of families sleeping on Beirut streets. Carrie Kahn, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
In the U.S., long security lines at airports continue to frustrate travelers. The Department of Homeland Security remains partially shut down. There are shortages among Transportation Security Administration staffers. NPR's Windsor Johnston has the latest.
Travel analysts say uncertainty is creating headaches for passengers at airports. That can mean long waits at security checkpoints and even travelers missing flights. Airline industry analyst Henry Hartfelt says the travel system was already under pressure from several factors at once.
Between higher jet fuel prices and thus higher fares, airlines having to scramble potentially to rearrange flight schedules, and the problems stemming from DHS, the airline industry right now is like a brittle piece of glass. It could fracture at any moment.
He says when passengers miss flights because of long security lines, airlines are scrambling to find seats on planes that are often already nearly full. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo is criticizing the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo after she said she was removed from a concert this week by security and threatened with arrest. News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reports.
A spokesperson for the rodeo told Houston Public Media that Hidalgo attempted to access a limited area in NRG Stadium for sold-out Megan Moroney concert with 4 guests without valid tickets. Hidalgo said she was threatened with assault and removed from the rodeo during the dispute. She posted an audio clip of the incident on social media.
You're blocking. There are people. There's people. Again. I don't want to see the show. I'm happy to not see it. You're blocking me. You're being recorded. You're blocking me from people. You are blocking me from people who saw what happened. You're not letting me see them.
In a letter she posted to Facebook, Hidalgo asked if the same incident would have happened if she was a male county executive. The incident left her feeling unempowered as a woman, she said. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
Pearland police say a missing 7-year-old girl with autism has been found dead in a retention pond after authorities issued an Amber Alert. Skylar Hobson was described as nonverbal. Authorities say she wandered away from home just after 9 yesterday morning.
She's believed to have left on foot in the area. The canines that we utilized kept tracking to an area of a retention pond with the help of the Houston Police Department dive team. They recovered Skylar's body from the retention pond.
Police say the Amber Alert was issued because the girl had autism and not because of concerns over a possible abduction. Beef prices have increased by 15% in the past year and could increase by another 5%. That's according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Some restaurants are paying more for their beef as a result. Currently, the U.S. has fewer cattle than any point since the 1950s, driving up prices. Hear more from ranchers about the state of the cattle industry on News 88.7 In Depth. That's coming up this afternoon on All Things Considered. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, working to help protect small businesses and the owners that run them, offering customizable coverages to salons, accounting firms, tradespeople, and more. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, by Metro, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Hello, Houston. What
Celeste
a beautiful.
has the day off. Just want to let people know that.
Yeah, and I think she picked a good one.
She did. We'll get to the weather in a minute. You know what? I have this script in front of me every single day, and I never read the very top part of it, which is written for me every day. So I'm going to read it today. Hello, Houston. Hello to our YouTube viewers, youtube.com/Houston Public Media. You know, you can also email us at talk@hellohouston.org, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell when you're on YouTube. And now we will chit-chat. I see that every day, and I never read it. So weather outside could not be nicer.
You know, it was, I think the temperature this morning probably caught a few people off guard, because it was in the 40s to about 50, depending on where you were. But it was chilly. And you go to bed last night.
Wonderfully comfortable.
I loved it. I loved it. And I think it's going to be great sleeping weather as we go into the weekend. It'll warm up slowly.
What am I going to get tonight?
Tonight, an overnight low in Houston of right around 50.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and then a high tomorrow again a lot like today, maybe 72, 73.
Yeah.
Not bad. And then a little warmer, 78 on Saturday, 80, 82 on Sunday. And then we get another front that comes through here. Then we're back down into the 60s and the 40s Monday and Tuesday of next week.
You know that makes me happy.
The cool weather.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. If
it.
you're
And
watching
it's
us
crisp,
on YouTube, look
clean.
at that shot.
Okay, are you a warm sleeper? Are you a hot sleeper?
Both.
Yeah.
But probably warmer than cold. 'Cause a lot of times I'll wake up and the covers are off of me.
Yeah.
So I must have, kind of pulled
Kicked
them
them
off.
off.
Yeah. And I'm a pillow guy. I'm like pillow on my head, but I like to hug a pillow.
Oh, really? See, I'm a quilt guy. I've always got to have heavy blankets on me.
Yeah, they make heavy blankets just
I know.
for that. Do you
I
not have
love
one of
those. Yes, I
Yeah.
have 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
One is at one weight and one's even higher weight if I'm really feeling like I need
Okay,
security.
what's the technology behind that? Why does that comfort you?
I don't know what it is. When I used to go and get like dental x-rays and they put the lead sheet over you, I always loved that feeling. And so I started joking with folks. I'm like, I want one of those lead blankets. And it turned out you can't buy them commercially. They do not sell them.
That's probably
and
a good
somebody said,
thing.
they do make a weighted blanket. I'd
Target
never heard
sells
of them.
Yeah.
And well, this was a few years back before they became the rage. And so I got one. And I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. Sometimes I get too hot under it. I remember going to the doctor and the doctor saying, well, do you have, when you sleep, do you sleep warm? I'm like, yeah. He's like, do you have night sweats? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, that's something we need to talk about then. He's like, talk to me about your sleep. And I'm like, well, first thing is I keep it warm. I keep it about 78 degrees in my bedroom. And then I have a quilt on me. And then I am fully in pajamas. And he's like, well, that's why you have night
Good God, I'm
sweats.
surprised you're alive.
I know.
78 degrees?
Yes.
What?
And first thing I do when I get into a hotel, I go right to the thermostat and turn it up.
Well, I don't feel like a vampire because we're at 69 degrees every night.
I love it warm. I sleep very warm and first thing I have to do, I have to drink a big glass of water to replenish all the fluids I've lost throughout the evening.
Wow.
I'm weird. I know. But I love it when it's cold outside because then I can still do my same behaviors, but I stay at a better temperature. There
Gotcha.
you go. What more could you
Grandma.
want?
Go ahead, Grandma. What's coming up on Hello
All
Houston?
right, coming up, we are going to talk about, there's this thing going on, and a lot of people talk about it where groups come in, corporations, enterprises, and the idea is they buy up lower end properties or properties at a price they can afford, and they pull it out of the market and then resell them or hold on to them and rent them. And it causes confusion in the housing market. Well, we're going to talk about what's the reality behind this whole practice and what's happening with lawmakers and their movements to try and limit this. And should they be, shouldn't they be? That's all coming up in a little bit. But first, it's time for the headlines. Frank,
well,
take us
this
in.
is interesting. A new poll shows that Austin State Rep James Talarico, the Democratic nominee for the United States Senate, in a statistical dead heat with both remaining Republican candidates in the race. Public policy polling, which accurately forecasts Talarico's margin of victory over Dallas Congresswoman Jesmyn Crockett in last week's Democratic primary, conducted this survey. The poll showed Talarico leading incumbent U.S. Senator John Cornyn by 1 percentage point in a hypothetical general election matchup, and leading Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton by 2 percentage points. In both cases, within the poll's margin of error, the firm conducted the survey in the 2 days immediately following last week's primary elections. What are your thoughts? Can Talarico turn Texas blue? Call us at 713-440-8870. What do you think, Ernie?
I'm all excited. It's a survey. I love a good survey, and it's a political survey, and I've got the numbers in front of me here. And I think the important things to point out, which you actually did mention, is that the primary election was on the 3rd. This poll was taken the 4th and the 5th.
Does that skew it?
Oh, well, it gives you the more recent information. So now he's your nominee. So now you're answering these questions differently. If it was done beforehand and it was about, because they did these same kind of polls with both Talarico or Crockett winning, but now it's more of a reality.
But
so now
in fairness, you don't really know him. Okay, he just won. A lot of people thought he was going to lose.
Yeah.
He didn't lose. He won. And now you're like kind of excited. So yeah, I support him. I support the new guy. Seems like a great guy. Then maybe a month from now you start to know him.
Right.
Well, we already know Paxton. Good Lord. And we already know Cornyn.
I think the problem with Paxton and with Cornyn, especially
we do know
with Cornyn, is that you know the name, but you've never really paid that much attention.
Oh,
Cornyn's
I have.
been in office so long. We know Cornyn is a senator. That's all we know. You know, what do you really know of
Well,
him?
we're finding out as he
People now
switches
pay
his
attention.
filibuster idea to vote for the SAVE Act so that he can get the.
We'll get into the whole Trump,
the Trump
endorsement and what that means. But just to take a couple things apart in this for folks to understand, in the survey, and I don't have in front of me how many people were in the sample, but I do know pretty much everything else about it. And I can look that up in a minute. But of the people sampled, 49%. Now remember, this is before the war going on with Iran, too. You've got to keep that in mind. Yeah. And so that's going to shift the landscape also. These are major events, politically speaking, and they shift people's opinion. But when this was taken, March 4th and 5th, 49% of those polled approved of the job Donald Trump was doing. They also were 52% women, 46% men, and 30% viewed themselves as Democrats, 41% saw themselves as Republicans, and 30% as independents. So that's the sample that we're dealing with. They
576.
How many?
576.
Okay, 576. From a polling point of view, I would say it's a pretty small sample.
You know,
But they're
in
very
television,
specific.
it was always 400 was the magic number. That kind of was even in political polls. 400 would be the same if it was 52-48. At 4,000 people, it was still 52-48.
I would say it depends on, and public policy polling is a very competent group at doing this. So these are not just a random 567 people. If the polling is done the way we used to do it, election and news
576,
polling.
your dyslexia is kicking
Did
in.
I say it backwards?
Yeah.
576. I wrote it even down wrong. Each one of those people is chosen for a reason. And that's the thing people miss in polling. They think it's just a random number of people.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, no, it has to do with where you live, your age range, all that. They're looking at stuff so that at least this is how we did at NBC back 30 years ago when I used to work with them. Each person represents a body of people. Yeah. And so you're very specific. And that's what makes a particular poll valuable is who is the sample group.
Well, let me throw a wrench in that.
Okay.
It's who will answer the phone. And
that's why they say the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump thing went so awry, was that survey folks hadn't adjusted for the onset of cell phones and were still using landlines.
Well, and now I get almost every scam call. It says scam likely, political call,
right.
You don't know this person, whatever. And that even 6 months ago, it didn't have that on my phone.
And I believe they have adjusted for that now in polling. That they are incorporating that too. As you
always
saw,
are adjusting for it.
Right. Public policy polling had it right on who got the nomination for the Democratic side. So they picked Talarico, and they were accurate on that.
Well, it's interesting. It says that Talarico is seen favorably by Texans, a +6 favorability.
Mm-hmm.
Paxton and Cornyn are unpopular. Cornyn is more unpopular, though, with his net favorability at -28. Paxton is at -24.
Right.
So I would not have thought that Cornyn would be more unpopular. That surprises me.
James Talarico has a 41% favorability. Ken Paxton has a 30% favorability. And John Cornyn has a 25% favorability.
Scandal knows no bottom anymore, does it?
No.
It really doesn't.
I've used this example before. If you go back and watch the very first season of House of Cards on Netflix, and you see what the character is dealing with is a scandal because he's worried someone's going to find out he lied about something. And it's so funny because in today's that seems so quaint. Yes, there was also a murder involved.
Charlie Parker on a text says, if people get off their couches and vote, quote, like Ernie always tells them to.
Even early voting, for those of you who don't think I push that enough.
Charlie says he can win. I think he means Talarico. There's absolutely no question. The numbers are in favor of him winning, but people have to vote. I mean, I think even with the primary, it was about getting people, either Talarico or Crockett, getting their voters to the polls. That was the challenge, and Talarico did it.
Part of the problem in this area, and it was less of a problem, but it was turnout. It's hard to get turnout. And turnout is often so low, considering the number of people who are eligible to vote, that it all does come down to, can you turn out your voters?
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily win the masses. You have to get your voters to show up at the polls. And if you do, you win.
We have a call from Erica out in Katy. Hello, Erica. Welcome to Hello, Houston.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Talk politics with me, Erica.
Okay. So I became eligible to vote in 2000 and voted Republican for Bush. But since then, I've been voting Democrat just because I like different policies and things.
Mm-hmm.
I've been supporting Talarico for like 2 years. I started seeing some of his stuff on like Instagram, Facebook, videos and things. He's a ex-teacher. I'm a teacher. He's a Christian. I'm a Christian, but I'm not a Christian nationalist. And so a lot of the things that he's talking about as far as Christianity and public schools and separation of church and state just really resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I found out he was running for the Senate seat, I was super excited and, of course, voted in the primaries. But I'm really excited about the ability that he might have to expand the base of people coming out to vote, because he's got maybe a wider net that he can cast, just because he does have that. You know, he's in seminary, he's getting his background is in education, but also in religion, and hopefully to capture some of those Republicans that might be disillusioned with the Trump MAGA Republican group, but also to help support public schools, because what's happening right now is an atrocity.
Erica, I'm curious. You mentioned that you had voted Bush when you first voted. Today, in general elections, do you vote on either lines, or do you stay pretty much party specific when you vote?
Nowadays, party specific, probably since 2016, since the dramatic shift. And if you've ever watched The Newsroom with Jeff Bridges, I started rewatching it, and I was like, gosh, this show is 12 years old, but everything it's holding up. It's holding up so well. Like, he's talking about the radicalization of the Republican Party and pulling all the middle line people to the far right. And now that kind of has just changed the party. So I don't know that I'd ever go back to that party, just because nothing aligns pretty much anymore except for maybe fiscal conservative conservation.
Yep. Erica, thank you very much for calling in and sharing with us, and we appreciate your comments.
You know, I voted my first election in 1980, voted for Reagan, and then voted for Bush the first, voted for Clinton, I voted for Bush, but then I voted for Obama because John McCain had selected Sarah Palin as his running mate, and she just struck me as not the brightest bulb in the box. So when Katie Couric said, well, tell us what newspapers do you read? And she was like,
all of them. All of them. 713-440-8870. We'd love your thoughts and feelings. Do you think Texas, is this the year? Is this the time Texas could actually turn slightly blue? We have heard this repeated so many times. I've lived here 30 years. I can't think of an election where I haven't heard them say, this is the year Texas is turning blue.
Well, it'll have to be the outlying areas. The cities are easy.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, Dallas and Houston and Austin especially, and he's from San Antonio.
Right.
So I think turning those particular voter groups a little bluer than they are, especially Houston after it just got chopped up and redistricted the way it did. I think there are a lot of Democrats who want their voices heard, and they're going to come to the polls. So I think those cities, but you've got to get the rural voter out there. And if you don't get them, but he might, because nobody's going to out-seminarian him, that's for sure. He's smart, he's solid, he's a nice guy. He knows religion, he knows his politics, and he's basically, like I've always been saying, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and you'll be fine.
And I think the key to winning is the unity of the Democratic Party this time.
I think you're right.
And there was fear that the Crockett supporters and the Talarico supporters had kind of built this divide between them. But both Talarico and Crockett have talked about unity of the party and bringing it together and working it together. And the only way the Democrats have a chance of turning Texas blue is to make sure that they unify, because you need all the Democrats, the independents in the middle there, and you need the disenfranchised Republicans to join you to actually do this.
And God bless Jasmine Crockett. I mean, she came out the next day and said, I support James Talarico.
Yep.
Now, when Paxton or Cornyn get the nomination, you think one of them is going to come out and support the other?
They very well may. It's just politics.
See.
It's
Wayne's on the line.
Remember that there is a primary coming up for the Republican nominee, so then we'll know exactly who's running against who when it comes to the Texas Senate. You were saying,
Wayne
Frank.
in West Houston. Welcome to Hello Houston, Wayne.
Yes, I'd like to say why I'm a Democrat.
Okay.
I did crossword puzzles for high schools through many history books, 14, 15. And I kept siding with the Democrats because I kept reading all the information about, Thomas Jefferson and all the Democrats all through the years. And it's definitely everybody's really a Democrat. They just they haven't read as many books as I have. And that's why if you vote Republican, you haven't read any books, I guarantee you.
Well, Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican. He read a few.
Well, the Republican Party has changed since Abraham Lincoln.
He read them by candlelight, as I recall.
Wayne, thank you very much for your comments and for joining us today. 713-440-8870. I would say, that looking back at that survey, though, keep this in mind. This was done March 4th and 5th of this year. Just, what was that, a week and a half ago. The question was, do you approve or disapprove of President Donald Trump's job performance? And 49% of those surveyed approved only, and 48 disapproved. 3% were not sure. So there is still strong support in this state for the policies of the current administration. You got to keep that in mind, because sometimes people fall into silos and don't realize
if this war continues, that might change.
It very well might. This was taken before that war began.
We have Jared on the line from South Houston. Hi, Jared. Welcome to Hello Houston.
Hey, guys. This is thanks for having me on.
Sure.
I wanted to give a comment. I heard Sarah, and she really inspired me to hop on here. I'm a Gen Z male, and what I wanted to say was I think that both political parties are very disillusioned with what Gen Z males actually need right now. Like we're trying to buy houses and get good jobs and stuff like that. And I think what's the most interesting about my political background is that I voted for Joe Biden over Donald Trump, and then I actually didn't vote for either of the presidents, for either of the candidates, neither Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, even though I was registered to vote, just because I feel like local politics and national politics are very disillusioned with what young people, specifically Gen Z, need to actually survive and thrive in our world today.
Jared, you may be right. It's tough.
I hear your point. I would just encourage that we had what was his name on the show? Very big civil rights activist on a while back. And he had said, oftentimes we fall into a trap of voting for the politician or holding our votes back if they don't stand for everything we believe in, and that we have to look at it slightly differently and look at the candidates that most support what we believe in, because we may not find a perfect match, but there are often very unperfect matches out there. So I encourage people, even if you don't like both of the candidates, look a little deeper and find which one more fits with what you believe, because one way or another, one of the two, even if you don't like either of them, is going to get the seat.
And you have to vote at the local levels, because school boards and state legislatures are all being turned very red. And if you don't control those, then you don't have any power at a local or state level.
Jared, if you're still with us, you still there, Jared?
He's gone.
Jared.
All right, let's wrap this.
All right, let's wrap it up. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I got to turn my pages, unless you know where we're going.
Yeah,
next.
Joshua Fechter is urban affairs reporter of the Texas Tribune. He's going to unravel this report on the rising cost of housing and the debate over whether investment companies should even be allowed to buy single-family homes. What do they do with them?
Let's find out.
Yeah, it's coming
after
up.
This break.
This is News 88.7.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Host of The Splendid Table. This week, we spend the hour with a true ramen geek, Sho Spaeth, author of an amazing book, Homemade Ramen. I'm telling you, follow him. You'll have one of the most delicious bowls of noodles you can imagine on your own kitchen counter. It's coming up on The Splendid Table.
You can hear The Splendid Table Sunday at noon on News 88.7.
Even as ski season melts away, some ski resorts are bringing in the profits with a pass-you-buy off-season.
We sold a season pass that people could use across all of the mountains that we own, and we sold it at a very low price.
I'm Kimberly Adams. How ski resort company Vail is changing the industry. Next time on Marketplace.
Marketplace every evening at 6:30 here on News 88.7.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 or more per month, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a few minutes to make a big difference. Become a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
A recent article published by the Texas Tribune examines the rising cost of housing and the debate over whether investment companies should be allowed to buy single-family homes. Some politicians say banning large investors could help families compete in the housing market, but many housing experts argue it wouldn't actually lower home prices. So joining us to discuss this issue is Joshua Fechter, urban affairs reporter for the Texas Tribune, who wrote about how this debate is playing out in Texas and across the country. Joshua, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you guys for having me. Good to be here.
We just heard from a Gen Zer on the program who's one of his issues is saving money, buying houses, and now we've got this issue of big corporations buying up single-family homes. Explain to me, first of all, why would big corporations want to buy a bunch of single-family homes, and how do they go about doing it?
So corporations see a market for owning single-family homes. What they do is they buy them out. Oftentimes they're renovating homes that often, need some bit of repair. Other times, they're buying homes in, sort of hot neighborhoods or metro areas that are really taking off. And, what they're doing is they're not just letting them sit there, they're renting them out because they see a market for people to rent them out because there's a demand to live in a single family home, even if you don't have perhaps the, money to afford a down payment, you might be able to rent one.
And I guess the idea is that the corporations have the ready capital at hand so they can go in, they can buy, where you as a regular consumer is out there and you're trying to find the deal, find the financing, all of that, where they can just sweep in and buy and buy and buy and then put them up as rental properties or turn them over and charge more for them if they resell them. But I guess part of what your story is looking at is the fact of the reality of the situation of what truly is happening in the market. And what did you find?
So for a lot of the, sort of bluster and frustration, that people have with the idea of Wall Street coming in and, buying homes that otherwise might have gone to a first-time home buyer, they play, a very sort of small role in the market. They own very little percentage of the overall housing stock. Houston metro area, according to the American Enterprise Institute, companies that own more than 100 units own something like 2.2% of the metro region's overall single-family housing stock. But it's a frustration for people, and you heard this a lot during the pandemic as the state was really booming. That folks had saved up enough for a down payment, and you go through that. That's a very difficult thing. A home is a big investment for people, and they put it in multiple bids on homes, and a lot of times sometimes they'll be outbid by a corporation, other times they'll be outbid by other people. But they sort of see the involvement of these big companies in the housing market, and they get frustrated because they see them as getting in the way of their ability to purchase the American dream.
Joshua, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but I'll get calls and it'll be just some random person. Hi, my name is Sam. Are you interested in selling this property that you own? And I've never really thought about that. Is that a front for a big corporation sounding like the guy next door that just wants to buy your house?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. But it gets to a little bit of kind of like, what are we talking about when we're talking about an investor, right? Are we talking about mom and pop landlords that, own a handful of properties. They live right down the street from you. Are we talking about, somewhere in between that and a, big Wall Street company or a large corporation that has a pretty hefty portfolio? And it can be kind of hard to track, or it was at least hard to track, kind of how, what these companies were up to for a long time. But now we're starting to kind of understand a little bit more and measure them a lot more easily. But like there is sort of a sense of kind of like, what are we actually talking about here? We're talking about an institutional investor. Yeah.
We got an interesting email from Richard Payne who says we should allow corporations to purchase houses, but we should institute a 10% excise tax on all sales and institute a full rebate for all purchasers, certifying that the buyer will be a resident for at least half the time. Any other kind of pushback that you've seen in at least a legislative way?
I've seen people get a little bit, they're a little bit leery of build to rent, or not build to rent, but like basically rent to eventually own sort of initiatives like that. But, something that you're seeing in Congress right now is this push to ban institutional investors of a certain size from owning homes and forcing those that actually build rental homes that are single family homes that are intended to be rented, forcing those homes to be sold after a number of years. And you have seen a lot of pushback to that from housing advocates online. Not just obviously investors are not too happy about that, but also people who push for housing affordability are very skeptical of those kinds of moves. Because they worry that it will ultimately limit the nation's housing supply, which is a big problem when it comes to housing affordability. We have a major shortage of homes in this country to buy and to rent. And the answer, they say, is to basically allow more homes to be built in order to, sort of moderate prices at the very least.
This kind of fits into what you're just saying there, but I will restate it again, then let you go with it. And it was in the introduction that we were talking about that the politicians wanting to ban large investors from buying up these homes, that would help the price in the housing market. With the amount that you're talking about of that 2.5%, and with the other things we've been talking about, are the politicians putting their resources in the right direction? Would doing this give any kind of benefit to potential homeowners? Or are there other things politicians should be looking at, our lawmakers should be doing to help bring the housing affordability down?
The experts would tell you that banning institutional investors from buying single-family homes is not a meaningful solution to the problem and might actually backfire and make things worse. The sense is that, you're not creating more housing units by telling people that they can only sell certain kinds of housing units and not rent them, right? And so basically what the experts will tell me is that politicians, elected officials need to be pursuing avenues to make it easier to build more homes. And, that could be single family homes, townhomes, duplexes, smaller apartment buildings or apartment buildings writ large. The Texas legislature this past year actually passed a slew of bills to make it easier for cities to build those kinds of homes, allowing apartments on, commercial roadways and that sort of thing, allowing homes on smaller lots as they have in Houston. And, a lot of the policy solution that I hear is about supply.
So do you think, just to follow up on this, do you think politicians making these moves about these corporations buying homes, that they don't understand what is actually at play here? Or is there something else at play that they're making that it's a cause celeb that they know people like to hear it, but they really know that isn't the solution?
That I think you nailed it, right? In that question, what is happening is, people just don't like the idea of Wall Street owning homes, right?
Mhm.
They see this as, kind of an offensive sort of thing, even if it is giving, access to housing that, people might not otherwise be able to afford to live in, right? And so like they're kind of capitalizing on sort of this populist uh, rage to a certain extent, right? People are mad that they can't afford housing, and they've found, at least, one thing to blame is kind of the vibe, right? And they're also sidestepping a more difficult policy conversation, right? Which is about building more homes. And what I know from, years of housing reporting, right, is that that's a controversial thing for, existing homeowners and people who live in, existing neighborhoods, right? They are not typically very welcoming of the idea of building more homes where they live.
So are these corporations, are they cherry picking different homes, or do they go into a master plan community that's being constructed? Like you see these places where 100 homes are being built and they buy half the houses. Is that happening, or is it just here and there? Because it doesn't sound like the percentage is that great.
Well, it depends a lot on geography, right? It depends on, which places are booming, right? Atlanta has seen a pretty big concentration, relatively speaking, of these kinds of homes, right? And that has in part to do with the fact that, Atlanta's economy was really taking off. Houston and DFW were huge magnets for investor activity over the last, couple of years. That's tapered off. But a lot of times they're just looking at where, as far as I can tell, and as far as the experts are telling me, it's like they're looking all over. But they also have started to build to rent communities, right? Single family homes that are intended to be rented out and not sold. So there's a bit of that going on as well.
We had a couple of comments, and I want your opinion on this. One was, we built homes in 33 days. They look like garbage 14 years later. Another is the flipping they do is crappy craftsmanship. Lipstick on a pig. Be very careful of buying a flipped home. Do you agree with that?
I don't have anything to weigh in on there. You do hear complaints about, I mean, builders doing any sort of renovations, like that you've encountered complaints about that for as long as there's been home building. But I don't have anything in particular to add there.
Right. So do your own inspections.
Yeah.
Right?
A while back, the idea had always been, I mean, even further back, the idea always was the dream was to buy a home. And then in the last 10 years, there was a lot of talk, especially from financial experts, about, maybe buying a home isn't for everyone. Maybe renting is the solution for people. Where do we stand today in understanding the populace in urban areas? Is the desire back to owning your own home? Is that still, quote unquote, the American dream? Or have we seen a shift in this newer generation of understanding, and maybe longevity is not the same as before? People want to feel that sense of mobility and freedom, where rental properties then are serving a true purpose in our communities.
Yeah, that has been a notable shift. Part of that is obviously because housing has become so unaffordable that people just cannot save up enough to afford a down payment on a home of their own, right? Some people prefer to rent. They don't like the idea of having to deal with every maintenance issue that comes up, right? They'd rather a landlord handle that. And you've seen higher income households, begin to rent more over the last decade or so. Part of that is a housing affordability issue, and part of that is also just lifestyle. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. What is it? It's a chicken or egg situation. Are they becoming renters because they can't afford, a home, or do they just prefer it to some extent?
We do have a call, by the way, Joshua. Cindy is on the line from Fulshear. Cindy, what's your comment or question for Hello Houston?
I worked in investments for 25 years, and this stuff just smacks so much of 08, 09. You took houses and you gave them to people that couldn't afford them, and then You put them all together and turned it into a quote-unquote product. Now we have another quote-unquote product. Corporate America can buy rental houses and put them all together, and it just makes me very upset, the very idea that once again the regulations have been taken away, and now the corporates are at it again.
Joshua?
Yeah, I think that's pretty indicative of how people feel about this idea of corporations being able to own homes, and corporations meaning, a small LLC or something like a big Wall Street firm, right? There is something that people find sort of offensive about them wading into the single family, home ownership market.
Well, are they getting any kind of special treatment in buying these homes? Is it easier for them to do it?
There in some instances you can see people making tax write-offs, right? But we also have tax breaks for homeowners, right? The homestead exemption in this state is something that leaders have pushed for, right? Then you also have you can deduct your property taxes from your income taxes, right? And your mortgage interest rate deduction, right? So I mean, there are tax deductions that you can get, right? But that covers the spectrum of home ownership, I feel.
Outside of, and I would just be curious about this, if corporations are buying homes and then doing the rentals, depending on the size of the corporation, it seems like a lot of hassle for something very small to do that. Is there a bigger mission to it in why you want to buy up lots of properties? Because to manage each one individually seems like it would be a headache for a big corporation that could turn profits in different ways. So what's at play?
Right. Well, just think of, there is a steady demand for housing for the most part, right? People need a roof over their heads. After the Great Recession, as the last caller mentioned, 08, 09, after the Great Recession, institutional investors actually came into a lot of distressed markets and bought homes that were underwater, and were credited by some with actually stabilizing a lot of housing markets that were not doing so hot in the wake of the Great Recession or at the time of the housing bust, right? So that it's they're just meeting a demand that is there. And, some people want to live in a single family home, but they don't have the capital, or they don't have the money to actually, be able to own it themselves. And, we see evidence that, allowing single family rentals in this way has, allowed people to access neighborhoods and schools and amenities and job opportunities that they may not have otherwise been able to access owing to this, right? So I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say.
Joshua, we have to wrap in a moment, but we have one more call from Alexia in Sugar Land. Alexia, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure there's no feedback. So living out here in Houston, there's quite a bit of building going on. It's just, they're expanding everywhere. But one of the things that we see popping up are these $750 million homes, and those aren't what people need, right? I mean, they're empty for months. And so what are the I guess, incentives for these builders building those first-time home buyer homes that are affordable, because the ones that they're building are absolutely not. And then counter to that is, with all this building, there's no municipalities like schools and all that kind of good stuff being built in to support the infrastructure. So I'll take my answer offline, but I just kind of wanted your feedback on that.
Thanks, Alexis. Thoughts?
Yes. So on the affordability aspect, there are a number of things that go into building a house, government regulations, land costs, what you're able to build on that site, right? And perhaps, the municipality requires that you have to build a house of a certain size, right? That can drive up the cost of a home, especially as like labor and construction costs have gone up, right? So the answer there is when you have maybe a $750,000 home there, right? That's the end result of a lot of policy and a lot of economic factors that are sometimes outside of the control of, elected officials, right?
Yeah. Tariffs.
So to basically you might wind up in a situation where you have to sell that at a lower price if that's just sitting empty there.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like, the ability of infrastructure like schools and roads and sewage and water is something that Texas is kind of struggling with right now, right? As we develop more into sort of these suburban, ex-urban areas, right?
Yep. Well, Joshua, we got to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being with us on Hello Houston today. Joshua Fechter is the urban affairs reporter for the Texas Tribune.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joshua.
Thank you. All right, coming up, our current obsessions, and we want to know yours, so let us know. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
War on Iran. On the next Friday News Roundup, President Trump hits the road to reassure Americans as gas prices soar. Plus, Congress has a bipartisan moment on housing. Trump threatens not to sign any bills until the SAVE Act passes, and new allegations of a DOJ employee stealing Social Security data. Rounding up the news next time on 1A.
1A, this afternoon at 2 on News 88.7.
There are a few things you need to understand about Ireland before you visit.
Well, you see, it takes about 3 minutes for a Guinness to be poured properly.
Irish tour guides bring us advice for fitting right in when you visit Ireland.
Ireland is just booming at the moment.
And make a point to enjoy a traditional Irish music session or two.
Music is like breathing to the Irish.
You'll hear it all on the next Travel with Rick Steves.
You can travel with Rick Steves Saturday morning at 6 on News 88.7. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Metro, introducing the Ride Metro Fare Card. The Ride Metro Fare system replaces the Metro Q Fare Card for bus and rail fares. Details at ridemetro.org/fare system.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8 at 7, Magic Moments presents the best of 50s pop. Then at 9:30, Country Classics celebrates the timeless legacy of Willie, Waylon, Dolly, and more. Tonight on TV 8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
And we are back again. And you know what it's time for, Frank?
Current obsessions.
I like the way you say that. Yes, we are going into current obsessions. What is current obsessions? It's a rundown of things that are currently taking over all our free time. A current obsession could be that TV show you run home to continue, that song you keep playing on repeat. How about that audiobook that makes you drive that extra mile in your car, or that radio show that makes you go to YouTube and watch us every single day from 11 to 1? That could be your current obsession. You get the idea. Before we jump into Frank and Ernie's obsessions, I didn't know how else to write that, so that's how I wrote it.
Sounds good to me.
One of the top trending items on X right now is the new season of the live-action One Piece on Netflix.
So is the John F. Kennedy and
love story.
Jacqueline
That's Celeste.
story.
She's not here this time to tell us about it, but she's obsessed with that show.
Well, I read a really interesting article in the New York Times about what it was like for us in the early 90s and what Carolyn Bassett's life was like before she met John F. Kennedy in 1993. And when people chain smoked and they didn't have cell phones and they didn't text all the time and they didn't have paparazzi everywhere. And it's just, it was a different kind of love story between New York City and the people that lived there than it is today. It's a great article in the New York Times, so you can look that up. But,
before
I'm
we
going to
get
become
deeper,
obsessed with that, I think.
Okay, before we get deeper, though, we want to remind all of you to share yours with us. A lot of folks are doing it on the chat in YouTube, or you can call or text us, 713-440-8870. We want to hear your obsession. So you're going to get into it? You're going to get into Love Story?
Well, I think I'm going to try to watch. I told Kevin I want to see it, and he's like, why? And I'm like, well, we're only 7 years apart, but I remember the early 90s like that when everyone was trying to dress like JFK with the vest and the backward hats. And all the women were trying to dress like her in simple black and white.
Well, one person who's not enjoing it is Daryl Hannah. She has not. I have not seen it, so I don't know what to say about it. But
she jumped in that pool. She needs to learn to swim.
She did not is not enjoying her portrayal in that.
Too bad.
Somebody recommended to me in one of these a while back was All Her Fault. And the woman who was in Secession, and she's the star of it. And I had put it off, and I decided to start watching. I think it's on Amazon Prime. I will tell you, it is so well written. In the first 10 minutes, you're hooked, which I think is so important in these kind of shows, because sometimes they have that slow burn because I know they got all these episodes to give you. No, it started right in the middle of the story, and you got going. And it's been, I've only seen one episode so far, but I'm jumping back in there. I'm going back in.
So HBO Max has DTF St. Louis.
I hear you're into that one.
It's only 2 episodes in, and they haven't dropped 3 yet. But yes, and part of it is the main character is a morning TV weatherman in St. Louis. So, of course, I have to pick it apart like I did Twister, right? So there's that I'm obsessed with. But plus it becomes a murder mystery in the first 2 episodes. Someone dies and someone did it, right? But we don't know who and we don't know exactly how. So there's already a really interesting murder mystery going on. And, of course, the title is captivating. Yeah. But it's got I'm looking at Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman, I love
who's
Jason Bateman.
terrific.
I want to remind everyone I've been corrected by my executive producer. All Her Fault is on Peacock, but it's kind of weird. It was a Peacock, I think, Apple Plus co-production thing. It's kind of interesting.
Well, British Computer Guy says his current obsession is Malice on Prime, a psychological thriller with David Duchovny. Boy, I was in love with David Duchovny back in 1996. And Jack Whitehall about a charismatic tutor who infiltrates a wealthy family's vacation to enact a calculated revenge plot against the patriarch.
Okay, before I go back into what other folks are, I've just posted this link over in our YouTube chat group. I am obsessed now because yesterday became the final day countries had to enter their song for Eurovision. So all 35 songs are now released that will compete in May for the Eurovision song. So I put up a video. Somebody else put it together.
Well, I completely respect you and your Eurovision. Personally, I'd rather eat glass, but you go for it.
Take a look at this. It gives you just a little snippet of all 35 songs so you can see
all
what's
35.
All 35, one from each country.
I wish there were 70.
I do too. I think he's teasing with me.
Alex Garza's current obsession, March Madness and filling out my bracket. You know what? My mama loved March Madness.
Did you call her mama?
Yeah, mama.
That's cute.
What do you call your mama?
Mom. Or as David Pittman will say, because we used to do Town Square, and he could always hear me in the mic before the show started. Ma, stop, Ma. I never knew I called her Ma, but he said that's what I did every day.
Well, if we were talking about her, we called her Mom.
Yeah.
If we were speaking formally about her, we call her Mother. But to her face, it was Mama.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Alex Garza also mentions the Oscars are this Sunday. Tomorrow we'll do some picks.
I haven't
ideas.
seen a single one. Have you?
You haven't missed much.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a great year. At least that's where I sit.
And I am
on
not
this
a Conan O'Brien fan by any reasonable imagination.
I like him doing the Oscars. I never enjoyed his talk show.
I never thought he was funny.
They're telling me that my link didn't post.
Ooh,
I put it back, and let me see. It's there. You just have to copy and paste it, I think. So, somebody said, thank God. That hurts. Give it a shot. Give it a listen. Just see, if you can't find it.
Ernie loves it.
The Oscars. That's what they were saying was blocked.
So are you going to have an Oscars party?
I'm not going to because I don't want to go all the trouble of it. What I am going to do is I'm going to pull out my hot dog roller, and I do own a professional popcorn machine. So I'm going to have hot dogs and popcorn. If friends stop by and want to have a little snack and watch some Oscars, you're welcome to come see.
I enjoyed the pre-show more than the show.
See what they're wearing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And watch just the live television aspect of it.
This is the time of the year I do miss Joan Rivers. earlier in her red carpet. She got a
was
little mean-spirited,
fabulous.
I felt, toward the end there. But you know what? I enjoyed it, and she kind of made it a thing for everyone to talk about the clothes.
Yeah.
And
no, she was a wonderful person, you know?
Cosme says he's going to Ernie's, so he's going to come over and watch the...
You'll get a good hot dog and some good popcorn out of it.
That's about
I
it.
promise you that.
Anyway, that is bringing us, believe it or not, to the end of the show today. This moved quickly.
It was really fun.
Yeah. We'll be back again tomorrow. We've got more going on Hello Houston. Chris Hollins, the Houston City Controller, will be here, talk about what's going on with electricity spending.
I love
at the
Chris
city.
Hollins. Is he going to be here?
He's going to be here in person.
He's so smart. I
Yes,
really
he
like talking
is.
to him.
And so are you when you call and you write. You share with us not only your obsessions, but your questions for our guests. And we welcome you to always join the conversation right here. Frank and I will be back again tomorrow with Hello Houston right here on News 88.7. See you.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
On the next Fresh Air, is there anyone who doesn't know Harrison Ford? Probably not. Now in his 80s, he's had a career that spanned decades. And in the last few years, he shot the final Indiana Jones film, the Yellowstone prequel 1923,